But if you took a penny and you doubled it every single day, at the end of 30 days, you would have $5 million in the bank. That's people probably heard that story before, right? Take a penny, you double it every day for 30 days, you would have $5 million in the bank. So what if you took a penny and you doubled it every other day? How much money would you have in the bank at the end of 30 days? You would have $163. So are you building a $163 business, or are you building a $5 million business?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Eternal Optimist podcast. I'm your host, Matt Drinkon, and today we have a special treat in store. We have a man on the show today who probably doesn't need any introduction, but if you haven't heard of Mr. Jim Packard, let me just give you a couple of details, a couple of highlights to kick things off. Jim founded a company when he was 27. He built it to 8 figures, sold it to a Fortune 500 company. He's been a runner-up and distributor of the year in 2 different network marketing companies. Jim has written a couple of books. He has a speaking business with a partner who's in the Speaker Hall of Fame. Once you go down the rabbit hole and see Jim online, it's just so many places he's adding value, so many places that you can learn from the master. I mean, he's actually been on QVC 25 plus times and sold over 1 million units. So he is no stranger to serving people, a lot of people at a high level. And I'm just glad that we have him. And I've also met and had the privilege of being on the podcast with his son. His son, Adam, has a show called I Need a Coach. That's right. Many positive things. And Jim is just such an energy source. So without any further ado, I'd like to welcome to the show. Welcome, Mr. Jim Packard. How are you, sir?
Well, thank you. I'm pleased to be here.
Absolutely. Well, Jim, you get a big smile on your face. Can I ask you, why is it such a big smile? Just instantly you have energy in a room. So why the big smile?
Well, probably the technology challenge that we had for the last 15 minutes trying to get on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you could laugh it off, because some people would be like down a rabbit hole of stress and it would be tough. But you seem to just have that bounce off your back and just keep going.
The glass is always half full here.
Oh, you know that, baby. You know that. Well, let's start off, Jim. If you can give us some context, I shared a couple of highlights. What might be a couple things that you'd like the audience to know as we dive into your story and have our conversation? Just a couple things about you.
I graduated from the University of Maine. I actually went to school with Stephen King. He was in my graduating class. I was the type of student. Yeah.
Okay.
And I was great friends with Jay Leno also. So that's my claim to fame.
He's my favorite late show talk. He's the only one I've actually ever met, and I really enjoy him. He was just such a cool host. I met him in 1998.
He's a great person. He's a very hard worker. He doesn't smoke, doesn't drink, doesn't endorse foreign-made products. He's a unique individual, that's for sure. So.
Yes. Yes. Well, please continue.
I was just going to say, my best friend in college was his best friend in high school. So he spent like every other weekend up in our dorm room in our fraternity house. So I get to know him pretty well. And I've been his guest at the Tonight Show and, Caesar's Palace and things in that line. But I was the kind of student, I couldn't wait to get out of college and just get a job.
Yeah,
because I went to 5 different high schools. Keep that in mind growing up. So I couldn't wait to get out of college. I took a job at a retail store in Hartford, Connecticut, called G. Fox and Company. Great big retail store, 5,000 employees, and they had a contest where the department manager that had the highest percentage of profit over whatever their budget was won a trip to Bermuda. So Sherry and I jumped on an airplane. We went to Bermuda. It was the first time my wife had ever flown, my second time. And we spent 5 beautiful days there. I got home and there's a letter in the mail. In the letter, it says, "Dear Jim, your name has come to our attention as the type of person that possesses the qualities that we're looking for." I'm thinking, they found out I won the contest.
Yeah.
Somebody found out I won a contest. Well, we'd love to talk to you. We'd love to meet you at 7 o'clock at the Holiday Inn downtown Hartford and have a conversation with you.
Okay.
Well, I couldn't wait to get there. Little did I know that it was a network marketing company. And
Oh,
that was the first time I'd ever heard of network marketing, never knew about it. So I joined. Right?
okay.
Now, this is 1972.
Okay.
Cost me $3,200 to buy that dream. And I bought $3,200 worth of plastic bottles and concentrated soap. And I was now in the network marketing business. First of all,
Okay.
I can't believe the bank even gave me the money, $3,200, because I was only making $7,000. So I don't know how they did that, but they
Wow.
justified it. I joined that company. I did extremely well. They got shut down eventually for front end loading, but I joined. I wrote down my original set of goals. In fact, I've got them on the wall over here. 22 original goals, matted and framed behind glass,
Wow.
and it gave me the confidence to start my own business eventually. So it was probably, I look back at it, it was probably the best $3,200 I ever spent because it
Huh.
gave me that confidence to start my own businesses, which is what I did.
Yeah. So the 3,200, you had some success with it, but really it was a building block to get to the
Yeah,
confidence needed to get to that next place. That's
absolutely. I
interesting.
started reading books like Think and Grow Rich and, what you can believe you can achieve. If you think you can or think you can't, you can't. You're right either way. And I was never exposed to that growing up. So it was all new to me. It was just, I was like a sponge just trying to take it all in.
Yeah. Yeah, this is awesome to hear because when I was in high school a few years after you, I was in high school in 1992, and in
Okay.
1991, my dad started with Amway network marketing, and
Yeah,
he
absolutely.
started to sell Amway to sell the dream because he was an employee for long term and he wanted to get out and have freedom. So he did that, and he was pretty good at it for a little while. And I started to book appointments for him, and even though he never made it, quote, in that business, he got me all those books you're talking about. Dale Carnegie and Les Brown and Zig and the
Yep.
cassette tapes in the car. So yeah, we have
Uh,
something in common there.
yeah, I love the Dale Carnegie. In fact, I became an instructor for them.
Wow.
I instructed over 100 sales classes for Northern New England because I was the only instructor they had. So I got to go to every place and do that. And I put all my employees through the course. I even had both my sons, so Jeff and Adam, both took the course as well.
Wow. Well, how old were your sons when you had them take the course?
High school.
High school. Brilliant. Thank
Yep.
you. Awesome. Well, so these are things that you've done before you started your company at 27. All of this
Yep.
is before 27. Okay. Well, what are some of the challenges you may have faced anywhere on that path?
Oh gosh. Well, I look back now.
Yeah.
It was myself, and I hired a technician, and I hired a another
Okay.
salesperson, and we started in the copier business, selling photocopiers up and down the streets.
Nice.
And and it was really interesting. I mean, I wouldn't want to do it again today, but I did it. Okay, and and it was really amazing, that whole journey, because you basically had a salesman trying to run a company, and I found out real quickly that I was good. I'm good at sales. I could sell anything all day long, but to run a company took a whole different set of skills. That's for sure.
Mm.
And we reached a point at one point in our company that we had a debt to equity ratio of 34 to 1. So that meant for every dollar that I had in the bank, I owed 34. All right. That was not a good time. Interest rates were at 22% back in those days. I mean, it was a struggle. I had fierce competition. I mean, I had a competitor that just wanted to put us out of business and did everything he could to make that happen during that time period. So we had to overcome all of this, all right, to build our company. And we eventually did. We built it to about 17 million and sold it to a Fortune 500 company.
Fantastic. Yeah. So through all of that, the fierce competition, and debt to equity. So you got a professional salesperson learning how to run a company, two different skill sets. I think a lot of our listeners can relate to that. A lot of our entrepreneurs, I certainly can from a number of times. All right. So what happened next after you sold the company?
Well, it was interesting. When we sold the company, the first 5 employees that were with us when we started finished with us. And we also, when we got they had to do the company that bought us out was called Icon Office Solutions, and they had to do their due diligence. And they talked to our service manager, who took credit for the success of the company, by the way, because of his great service skills. Talked to our general manager, who took credit for bringing everybody together. Talked to our CPA, who took credit. So we had built such a company. We had such a company culture that it was unbelievable. If you went into the talk to the receptionist in the front desk, I overheard her say this one day, and I loved it. She said, somebody asked her, a salesman had come in to talk to us about something, and the salesman had asked her, well, how many salespeople do you have here? And she says, we have 110, which is exactly the number of employees that I had. So it was just, everybody took credit for the success of the company. And we went through a major problem. We had a storm in Portland, Maine, and a dam let go some water. And we had 48 inches of water in our entire building. And the building's 30,000 square feet.
Oh.
And 48 inches of water for 2 days. The only way you could get to the building was by canoe. But that brought our company so together. Everybody just pitched in, and we got through it. And we survived. And as a result, we were a very strong company.
How did you survive 48 inches of water? People think they canoed back and forth to a parking lot. I mean, how did that?
It was amazing. We had over $1 million worth of equipment on the floor that was underwater. It's still in boxes. So we had to unbox them all, spray them down, dry them out. It was quite an ordeal. I was amazed that that we came through it like we did. But it was such a great feeling.
Wow. So what's happening in your mind as this dam is broken and you pull up to the office, you see you can't get there? If you could replay, what are you thinking at that moment as owner, entrepreneur, seeing everything underwater, seeing you can't get there? How do you pivot from that, Jim?
Well, this was funny how this happened. It was during Adam's senior year of high school, and we were in Pennsylvania taking him down to Penn State to look at the college and check it out. I took my phone, but I shut it off. I said to my wife that I'm not going to do anything with business. It was just going to be about you and I taking Adam to college. I didn't even know that it happened until we got back. And then I finally connected with the office, and they said, where have you been? And I said, well, I've been down at Penn State. So, well, you're not going to believe what happened. And that's when I heard about it over the phone. And
so your people took over and started to just pivot and figure it out when you weren't even there.
Yeah, it was probably good I wasn't there. I probably would have had a heart attack.
So, dear listener out there right now, if you're hearing what Jim is saying, and this is one of the biggest challenges that I coach to, I see people all the time have trouble letting go of control and needing to be the person that pulls every string. And Jim was out when his whole business flooded, and his team, he relied on them, and they took care of business. And
they really did. Now, you got to remember, I was a salesman, but I found out early on that I was really good at selling. So I took a territory, Lewiston, Maine. That was my territory.
Okay.
I took that territory because the 3 salesmen that we'd put in that territory before me all had failed miserably. So I didn't want to have another failure. So I took that territory. I was out there working the business in another part of the state. All right, just like any other salesman, we're still out there, and they were cleaning up the building. And I mean, the employees did a fabulous job. The manufacturers came together with us. I mean, we had $1 million worth of their equipment underwater, right? Mm-hmm. And they did everything they could. They sent us $100,000 worth of parts to put in some of the machines. It was just a complete team effort.
One question before we move on, you hit on something I hear some salespeople, commiserating over sometimes. Is it the territory or the salesperson? Because I've assigned territories to salespeople who are like, the territory, it's crap. I'm not going to be able to do anything. Assign the same territory to a new person who goes in there and becomes the salesperson of the year. So what's your response or your advice to someone who says, man, it's a poor territory?
Well, I lived in a little small town called Winthrop, Maine. It has 3,000 people in the town, so it's not very big. It has one traffic light, right?
Okay.
sold 78 copiers in that town. I mean, everybody in that town had a copier from me at some point, right? I would definitely say it's the salesperson. It's his mind shift. It's his attitude. It's just like, the salesman in Africa that goes there and he goes, I can't sell down here. Nobody's wearing any shoes. And the next salesman goes down there and says, what a great territory. Nobody has any shoes. Everybody's my prospect. So I think it's the salesperson. I really
100%.
do.
100% agree. I love it. It's just a shift of the lens. Thank you. What happened next after the sale, after that business? I mean, you had a number of other successes. So what was the next thing?
I sold the company and I stayed on for 5 years as the vice president of strategic accounts.
Okay.
They didn't care if I showed up at all. They just wanted me to stay there. And I wanted to stay there because I was renting them my overpriced building. So I wanted to make sure they kept paying for it. All right. And I met a guy. I was looking for something else to do at that point because I'd sold the company, right? And thinking, okay, what am I going to do? And I met this guy. It was Kaufman. It was the Kaufman Center for Entrepreneurship. It was a class that they gave in Gardner, Maine, saying how to run a business. And I thought, maybe I could go teach the course. So I went in to see if maybe I could teach the course. I ended up taking the course. There was 32 people in the course. And I met this guy in the course that was an entrepreneur, just had a great product, trying to make a go out of it. He needed a salesperson. Well, he saw me in a 3-piece suit going to the class, and he reached out to me. We have become great friends. All right, we invented a couple products that we took to QVC, and that's what got me on QVC for. I think I've been on about 30 times selling this little product. And it was a little computer type of product. In fact, I got it if you want to see it.
Oh, please show us. Right. You got to check us out on YouTube, everyone, if you're listening online.
This is what it looks like. Now, you have no idea what this is, do you?
What is that? What is that?
I'm going to show you.
Oh, my goodness. This is super cool.
It's a device that holds the cord of a mouse so that when you use the mouse, the cord doesn't get hung up on your desk.
Okay.
We took those to QVC, sold 1 million of them on QVC, right? And of course, they went wireless eventually, so that kind of eliminated that whole market. But it's just a problem that existed that we found a solution to it, and that was the solution.
Wow!
So I got on QVC, and now, QVC is kind of different. They only take 3 products out of every 100 that are even submitted to them. And out of those 3 products that are submitted to them, they reject 50% of them because of the packaging. So it's quite a process to get on. They can make you, or they can certainly break you, because it's like glorified consignment. If they don't sell them, they come back to you.
Yeah, and you're a professional salesperson. You're really good at it. And still, 3 out of 100, there's probably some other people that are really good at selling. How did you break through that first door, and then the second door, it's got to be pristine packaging, even if you make it that far? I mean, how did you get all the way there?
Well, it was interesting in that you have to have an agent to get on. I couldn't go down and sell myself. They had like 100 purchases agents in that building. They shift them around so you don't see the same person all the time. But we had an agent that saw the product, loved the product. Everybody at QVC had one on their desk eventually because we were I remember going on at 1:00 on a Saturday, and I went down 2 days early because they put you through classes. You can't say anything you want to. You have to just be there, And the host of the show is really the person, and I'm just like the color man. And I went down and I sat through the classes, and I remember telling my agent, I said, well, I'll see you tomorrow morning at 7:00. I'm going to get here early so I can really take everything in. I want to meet the other vendors that are coming in. So maybe I can sell to them. And so he says, well, you come in at 7. I said, that's kind of early for our for the time slot that we have. I don't think you want to. And I go, well, it's only like 5 hours before. And he goes, you're at 1:00 in the morning.
Okay.
It's like past midnight.
Okay.
And so I told everybody back home, I'm going to be on at 1:00 in the afternoon, right in the middle of the football game. I was, the high school football game. I was kind of disappointed with that. But when I found out they were 1:00 in the morning, because that's when techies look at the screen, right? Well, the guy before me sold laser cartridges, and he sold like $15,000 worth of laser cartridges in 7 minutes. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, if we can just sell $15,000 worth of these, oh my God, that would be awesome. Well, we actually sold $56,000 in 7 minutes. And I mean, everybody loved them. That's what started our run on QVC.
Oh man, super cool. Was that your only product on QVC? That was the one right there?
We came up with another one. We came up with a glass mouse pad that fed into a unit, so that you could personalize or customize the mouse pads. So that was another one that we did.
Wow. So from copiers to entrepreneurial, widgets, mouse pads, and mouse equipment on QVC.
Yeah.
You got the entrepreneurial bug. What came next?
Well, what came next was, now, when I ran my copier company, I wanted to make it really unique. You got to remember, initially I had 2 salesmen and a serviceman, right?
Okay.
Well, what did we do with Ronnie? He was the serviceman, because servicemen can't sell, right? They don't want to sell. They're not good at selling, right? So I said, well, we'll have Ronnie go visit our accounts. If we found a customer that would buy toner from us or paper from us, or maybe even a machine, right? We'd have him go visit them every single week. So I'd have Ronnie go visit every single week, every single client, right? When we actually ended up selling the business 20 years later, whatever it was, we were doing 122 hours of courtesy call visits, 122 hours per week of courtesy call visits. So we were looking for ways to we worked so hard for a customer, we weren't going to allow our competitor to come take him away, right? Okay. We were going to overservice our customers. Well, I found out that if you sent the customer a birthday card, right, on their copier's birthday, they got a big kick out of it. So I would go to places like Staples, buy birthday cards, and send them to the copiers, not to the people. Can you imagine the decision maker sitting at his desk? He gets a card in the mail, says happy birthday, and he opens it up and says, your copier's 3 years old today. You might want to think about replacing him. Well, I started doing that, and that was the customers loved that type of thing, and I was the only person doing it, right? So when I moved to Arizona and I joined a country club, that was one of my goals, all right, join a country club out here. And I found out that I didn't play golf well enough that I even wanted to play every day.
Oh, okay.
So, all right. So I said, well, I remember that greeting card thing that I did for our clients back in Maine. People loved it. I'm going to start a greeting card company. So I started a greeting card company. I found a graphic artist out here, right? We developed a line of greeting cards. They were so unique. They were so good, right? That I made a call on PetSmart because they're located out here in Phoenix. And within 90 days, we were in over 800 stores. Mm. And then I had people like, their other niche market were salespeople. And I had people like Tom Hopkins, loved him. Zig Ziglar was one of my clients. Brian Tracy, Harvey McKay, all right? But my cards were really different. They were really cool. This is an example of one. Can you read that?
Babe Ruth struck out more times than he hit home runs.
We all know that, right?
Yeah.
Right? Can you read that?
Yeah. Although we didn't do business this time, we're looking forward to our next at bat.
And you pulled that saying out of the little envelope inside. And that's what made us so unique. I mean, the little envelope. Like, here's another one.
Okay. Don't worry about wrinkles. It's got a Shar-Pei puppy on it. Big wrinkle dog.
I don't. Okay.
I don't. And on the inside, there's another envelope. And?
Yeah, and it says, happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Huh. So, we designed cards, greeting cards, for salespeople, right? And I had fun going to businesses and finding the salespeople that believed in customer retention and selling them our greeting cards to them so they could give them to their clients. I've found out since then that People don't have the discipline to send them out. All right. Found out there was a network marketing company already involved that sent cards. And I said, you got to be kidding me. There's a company out here, and I didn't have to create them, design them, accounts payable, warehouse them, all the stuff that I was doing. There was a company that already did all that.
Nice.
Why, I joined them and I became their distributor of the year.
Wow. And so you took this idea, you found that it was already out there doing a lot of the stuff you didn't want to do. You joined that company and you became distributor of the year. Fantastic.
Yeah. Want to hear something cool?
Absolutely.
The very first two people I ever sponsored in that business, I mean, number one and number two, right?
Okay.
Were both my sons.
Oh, okay. That's cool.
And we're known as the Packard boys. We trained all around the country. All right, from stage, the three of us. There was three people that did the training. One was the owner of the company. The other one was their top distributor in the company, and the other one was Jeff and Adam and I.
Wow, that's fantastic. What was that like, being in business with your sons and seeing them start to grow a business?
It was fabulous, because they were all good at it. We did a Monday night call that was so good. All right, you know how to have team calls, and the company has their calls. Our calls were so good that we had so many people on our calls, because we took this disc profile at one point, and we found out that I was strong in one area, Jeff was strong in another area, Sherry was strong in another area, and Adam was strong in another area. We had all four, the blue, red, green, whatever it was, color segments. We all represented a different segment. So no wonder our calls were good. We appealed to everybody.
Yeah.
And we did that for years.
I'm curious, what were you, the high D or were you the high I?
I was the connector. I was the one that brought everything.
You're the people guy. Well, what was Adam?
Yeah.
Because he was pretty good.
Analytical. He's analytical. Really? Oh, he's an amazing kid. I mean, just to give you an example, he read a book a day. His goal was to read a book a day. Can you imagine trying to read a book in one day? Well, he was trying to read a book a day for a year. He got to like 285 consecutive days of reading motivational books.
Yes.
And they weren't the little skinny one. They were big books. And he did that every single day for about 285 days. And then he met this girl that taught hot yoga, and he ended up marrying her. So that was the end of that whole string. And my other son, Jeff, owns a solar company. He's doing fabulous with that. So he's been doing that for about 13 years. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, through all of these successes and these smiles and things we're sharing, where is something else that was incredibly challenging for you that we might share?
What was something else that was incredibly challenging? I read a book once. It was from Jay Abraham.
Okay.
Getting all you can out of all you got. Well, he happened to select a product that we had invented, which was, the mouse bungee. He thought it was one of the most unique products he'd ever seen. And I got to spend a whole week with him in California. All right. And he has something in his book that he says, if you can look at another industry and you can see what has made them successful, and you can take that and apply it to your industry, what might be as common as dirt in that industry might have the effect of an atomic bomb going off in your industry. Right? So we took our employees to sandals resorts down in the Bahamas. And that's when you check in, you put your wallet in the safe, and everything's just paid for, right? It's just a great thing. Everything's paid for. So I thought, what a great idea this would be for the copier business. Rather than you buy a copier, let's say you bought one for $5,000, you bought the service agreement, right, which you have to buy, okay, because they break down. You buy the supplies because you can't run it without supplies, all right, and you got involved with this, with the financing. I'm thinking, what if I came into your office and just said, how would you like this copier? I'll put it right over here at the end of the month. I'll read the meter and see how many copies you made, and I'll charge you per copy, like a nickel a copy for every copy you made. You didn't have to go finance it. You didn't have to buy all these things. So we took that and applied it to our industry. Our competition didn't know what we were doing. We found a way to finance it all. So we financed it up front. We did that. Now we took the same concept, right, with this little envelope that's inside the magazine. Where do you think that came from, that little envelope? It came from the idea of the Cracker Jack box, where there's a gift inside every box.
Yes.
Well, this is our little gift inside the greeting card. We took this concept and applied it to the greeting card business. We took this product, the mouse bungee. Where do you think this came from?
Oh, I don't know. Where did that come from? It looks like the back of your door.
It came from your mother's iron. It has a little spring on it. This is what your mother used to use when she ironed her clothes. So we just took ideas from other locations or other industries, applied them to ours, and some of them were hits and some of them worked out pretty good.
Wow. Well, fantastic. So always had your eyes open from this industry to that. What could possibly translate over here that no one's thought of yet over and used and applied over here? Love it.
Absolutely.
Love it. Yeah. Well, what are you passionate about nowadays? What's driving you now?
You know what's driving me? We had built a whole company on customer relations and customer retention. And it irritates me to watch people build or start building a company, and 80% of their time is going out looking for new prospects, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe 90% of their time. When if they just take and retain their old customers, I mean, the retail value of an existing customer could be 10 times what the original purchase price was. When you go to sell your existing customers, you have a 70% better chance of selling them something than going and finding a new customer. I mean, we've done all kinds of studies. It's 6 times more to find a new customer than maintain an old one. So I have a greeting card service that I just use that greeting card service to show people how to retain their present business. It's not rocket science. I'm not looking for a rocket science type of product. All right. I live in Wickenburg. I pick up 2 or 3 accounts a week. All right. Just, people that believe in the customer retention, and I introduce them to my product. Now, I also realize that not everybody has the discipline to send them out themselves. So I have a program where we have virtual assistants that do everything for them.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Another pivot, another evolution in business to solve a need, to help them remove the barrier to do a business with you. Love it. Love it. I guess, Jim, where can we find out more about you online? I mean, I Googled you and you're there and you're larger than life, but where might be the ideal place for us to go to find you?
I'm pretty low profile because I'm pretty low technology. All right. Just LinkedIn. You can find me on LinkedIn. You'll find me there. Everything's kind of buried a little bit. You have to look for it, but I am on LinkedIn. And one of the best things that I think I've done in my life is that I've had a balanced life. I ran my business in Maine, and everybody was trying to get us to move to Boston, put an office in Boston, put a Boston in Hartford. But we maintained it just in the state of Maine so that I could have the relationship with both my sons. I don't think I ever missed a basket. Never missed a sporting event that they were in. All right, never missed one. All right, and I've kept a marriage. I've been married 54 years. So same girl that I met. This is an interesting story. I met a girl. I was in college. She was in high school, and while I was away at college, she sent me a greeting card every single day.
My gosh.
Every single day. So I always knew I was in the, it was always in the cards for me to be in the cards. So,
well, this is your wife of 54 years. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome.
We've been together for 56. So
56 years, man. Okay. Well, then let's lean and tap into the wisdom that you have on marriage here, Jim, because I'm sure there are a lot of people out there who would be curious. How did you make it 54 years? I'm curious. What makes a successful marriage for 54 years?
Well, when I was running my business, one of the things I've always done is that, and I've seen it in other business people where they've ruined relationships and things. I made sure that every single week I took out my sons to breakfast. And so they were in junior high school. I would take Adam. He and I would go to whatever restaurant he wanted to go to for breakfast in the morning before I took him to school. Now, it always happened to be McDonald's. Okay, so that's where we ended up going. I did the same thing with Jeff. And then, of course, Sherry wanted to get in on the act, so I did the same thing with her. My kids have been writing out their goals since they were in junior high school. I remember them coming to me and saying, "Dad, what can we get you for Christmas?" And you don't need another shirt and tie. I told them, I'd like to have you write out your goals for me. I've been writing goals forever. We have 4 goals, 8 action plans, 2 reward systems, and they just fill it out every single month. And they have been doing that since junior high school. So I've been doing it forever. So still have the forms on my desk today. But it's so I've always been goal oriented like that. And I think that my kids have always been light years. Like I told you, I had them take the Dale Carnegie class while they were in high school. Well, they also took the real estate exam when they were in college, so they have the real estate licenses. And so I've always been proactive with my kids. So something I'm very proud of.
I'm taking some definite notes over here and just drawing some conclusions because my dad was that way with me and it stuck. So I'm glad to hear that. That's really affirming. I'm curious. You mentioned something I personally am curious about. You said at one point you decided you wanted to move to the country club. And at 47, I'm in that place trying to maybe move to the country club, move to a golf course. And I love playing golf. Anything about that move? Because you uprooted and moved to Arizona. Anything that you would change or any advice you have for someone considering a big change like that?
When I was growing my first business, well, even before that, when I was in elementary school, I hung around with a great group of kids. And I remember that their parents would have to stop the baseball games. The kids would get in the car and they'd go to the country club, to go to the country club beach.
Okay.
And I always wondered, gosh, why can't I go? Well, we couldn't afford the country club when I was growing up. All right. So it had always been on my goal list to join the country club.
Yeah.
That was when I knew I had made it. And I actually, joined the country club, got sponsored by a great person and joined the country club as a result of that. Now, my kids have been playing golf forever. I don't know if Adam told you. He's a really good golfer. All right. In fact, I had him up for my member guest recently, and we have to go off the gold tees because I'm off the gold tees. I'm 76, right? Well, Adam off the gold tees is a +6.
Ah! Yes.
I had to play as a 4 because they only allow a 10-shot differential in member guest tournament. So I'm a 16 playing as a 4. Well, it didn't work out, but it was fun watching Adam hit the ball. So
similar. I played at Sea Island down in Georgia a couple weeks ago with my partner, and he's a 23 and I'm a 0. And when I had to play in the 14th flight from the green tees, like way up there. And I just busted through the course. It was, I shot like 11 under. It was fun.
Oh, we didn't make any money at all because we just couldn't compete because I was playing as a 4 and I'm a 16.
Yeah.
But it was fun watching Adam. I remember one particular hole. I said, "You're going to lay up because there's a big ravine here." And he says, "Dad, it's only 258." And he made it. So
awesome. Well, at 76, if you could offer some wisdom or advice for a business owner out there who is just getting started, let's say they're in their late 20s, mid 30s, and they're just getting started in business, what might be something, if you could go back and speak to yourself or speak to an owner right now, what would you like to tell them?
Well, I'm a big goal-oriented person. Write their goals down. All right. Even if you don't have a plan of action to get to them, write them down because it just does something mentally with your head. Write those goals down. Realize that they're not cast in concrete. You can change them anytime you want. I remember that when I took the Dale Carnegie class, there was an exercise that they wanted you to write out a word picture of where you wanted to be in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. And I wrote down, I mean, back then I knew I was going to move to Arizona, join a country club and all that. And I remember on a snowy Friday afternoon in Farmington, Maine, an hour and a half from my home, on a Friday afternoon, I'm still making phone calls. I've called the office. Everybody's gone home. I'm the only person out there working. And all I could think of was that word picture, all right, of me eventually sitting in Arizona, all right, by the pool, having a glass of lemonade, and getting ready to jump on my golf cart to go to the country club. And that has stuck with me forever. And it's just a word picture, I think they called it.
And it started with writing down your goals. And you write them down. Do you look at them every day? Read them twice a day? Just always in your vision? Like, what's your process once you have them written?
I have my goal sheet that's four goals, 8 action plans, 2 reward systems. I've been using it forever. Anybody wants one, I mean, they just contact me. I'll send it to them. All right. But it's and that's the same goal sheet that Jeff and Adam have been using. And
well, I'm going to reach out to you and ask for that, and invite to our listeners out here that you can reach out to Jim and ask for that, and you can reach him through LinkedIn. So please reach out to Jim for that. Expect my reach out today, because that's pretty cool. So thank you for that, Jim.
The other thing we didn't talk about?
Yes, sir. What's that?
Is the consistency chain.
Yes, sir. Let's talk about that. I see your email signature's got the consistency chain. It's an amazing website. So what is that to you?
Yeah, my Jeff was having a meeting in Tucson. Now, Jeff was distributor of the year and send out cards just like I was. And he was having a meeting down there, and he calls me one day and he says, Dad, I have a guest coming in to speak. I'd love to have you and Mom come down, and if nothing else, just support our team down here in Tucson. So we drove down, and Jeff introduces this guy as Joe Malarkey, America's worst motivational speaker. And we go down, we listen to him, and I go, gosh, this guy's funny. Well, little did I know he was a stand-up comic for 10 years. Shared the stage with people like Jerry Seinfeld and that group.
Okay.
For 20 years, he toured the country as Joe Malarkey, America's worst motivational speaker, which landed him into the Speakers Hall of Fame. Right? So I went up to him afterwards and said, George, I'd love to work with you. And he says, Jim, I'm putting together a new book. He says, it's all based on consistency. He says, I always wondered why I'm at 20% in some areas and 80% in other areas. And the book is really written funny. It's really good. It's on Audible and on Amazon too. It's really a good book. All right. And it's called, the last book that we wrote is just called the Consistency Chain for Network Marketing.
Okay. Consistency Chain for Network Marketing.
It's a goal-setting strategy designed for people that have a hard time sticking to a plan. It's a strategy that gives us a different way to measure success. And we have hit it head on. I mean, it is a great book for any type of business, for that matter. And so,
wow!
If you go to the Consistency Chain, you'll see us there. But it's yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing that. And Jim, I'm curious. You've mentioned some about reading books. If you had to recommend 1 to 3 books that have had an impact on you in your world, what might be 1 to 3 books you'd recommend?
Well, anything. I love John Maxwell. All right. Mm-hmm. When a few years ago, when my mom died, she left us just a little bit of money. We took that money, and I took Jeff and Adam, and we went to Florida, and we went through his leadership course, the very first one that he ever had in 2011. And he wrote a book, it says, Put Your Dream to the Test. I love that book. That's kind of the book that I take on holiday every time I go. So Put Your Dreams to the Test. The other book is How to Get Everything You Can Out of Everything You've Got by Jay Abraham. It's a fabulous book. I don't understand 90% that's in it, but part of it I really like. It's a fabulous book. So I'd recommend those 2 books, and of course the Consistency Chain.
Fantastic. I don't know the Jay Abraham book you're referring to, so thank you for that. I'm going to get that right away.
He's fabulous. He's a great consultant. Like somebody told me he gets like $50,000 a client. I mean, he's really good.
Excellent. Thank you. About music, is there a song, an artist, a genre that lights you up, inspires you at all?
No, I can't remember words to a song. other than we're the champions, something like that.
Oh, yeah, little Queen. Yeah.
You know what I did do, though? I forgot about this. When I was growing my business, right, before I went into an account, I would play the Rocky theme. All right?
Yes, sir.
And I tell you what, you listen to that recording, by the time you get out of the car, you're ready to go. You're ready to fight. So I forgot that I had done that. So
awesome. I like to play a little AC/DC Thunderstruck when I walk into my office every morning. It's my ritual to get things going. So I relate. Last question, Jim. I'll give you the last word. You're on the Eternal Optimist podcast. When I say Eternal Optimist, what might that mean to you?
Well, of course, I mentioned it earlier. The glass is always half full with me. Always. I mean, it's always half full with me. But if you took a penny and you doubled it every single day, at the end of 30 days, you would have $5 million in the bank. Right? That's people probably heard that story before, right? Take a penny, you double it every day for 30 days, you'd have $5 million in the bank. So what if you took a penny and you doubled it every other day? How much money would you have in the bank at the end of 30 days? You would have $163. So are you building a $163 business, or are you building a $5 million business?